Ever since the very first LEGO Star Wars game was released in 2005, you've known pretty much exactly what you're going to get from a TT Games LEGO game. This developer struck gold with that original title, founding a family-friendly gaming institution that survived a decade and a half, it bridged 3 generations, and it was about as consistently a part of the weekly game sales charts as GTA 5 has become. But it's now been more than 3 years since the last game in that vein, LEGO DC Supervillains, and TT Games have been really quite busy in that time. LEGO Star Wars The Skywalker Saga is the fruits of that labour, returning to a familiar story and setting, but with a huge departure in terms of gameplay and style compared to the LEGO games of old. The Skywalker Saga turns up with every single element having been reconsidered and redesigned from the ground up. It starts with the camera angle, which shifts from the wide overlooking views from the old games to an over-the-shoulder third-person camera that follows whatever character you're playing as. For our hands-on time, we got to hop into the opening of Episode 4, and this had Leia and Captain Antilles running through their doomed starship as stormtroopers board and take control, searching for the Death Star plans that are somewhere on board. Something that took a few moments in the start of the original film is broadened into a ship-wide battle through the corridors, seamlessly shifting from combat and traversal to cutscenes and back again. It acts as a bit of a tutorial for the game as a whole, and the blaster and grapple gun-toting heroes such as Leia and Antilles. With the third-person camera, you can kind of aim down sights, bringing up a targeting crosshair to have direct control over the blasting that you're doing, and you can also nip into the destructible cover to shield yourself from incoming fire. If it gets broken up, which it can do because it's basically just Lego blocks, you can quickly rebuild it if you need to. Both ranged and melee combat build up combos, so long as you're mixing things up with different face button presses, and there's a Batman-style counter-attack when enemies come in to try and bop you in return. The reward is basically just loads of studs, but there's also the visual reward of having much more varied-looking combo attacks. And there's also the imperative that enemies can potentially block your attacks if you don't vary things up enough. Playing through this level, there's the trademark LEGO game humour right from the off. You've got a rebel trooper grabbing a coffee before picking up the Death Star plans, realising what he's got in his hands and running off to find Leia in a hurry. Then you've got Darth Vader's antics as he interrogates rebels throughout the ship, you've got stormtroopers hopping into an escape pod jacuzzi that I've set up, and the usual humour from C-3PO and R2-D2's lopsided relationship. Partway through this opening level, you actually switch over to controlling 3PO and R2, getting to see a different side to this game. While these two can still melee and fight, they're not seen as threats by the stormtroopers, much as droids are often overlooked throughout the Star Wars universe, and so they won't be attacked. Of course, they have their own unique abilities. R2 can access certain terminals with a rotational mini-puzzle, while 3PO can use other terminals to mess with alarms or take control of a turret and mercilessly gun down enemies. 3PO can also be split in half, reminiscent of that bit in Empire Strikes Back, and his mastery of the universe's languages comes in handy during the open world segments of the game where he can talk to certain aliens that you cannot understand. The amount of game on offer in the Skywalker Saga feels like it's going to be simply huge. All 9 of the mainline films are included here, and you can start playing from the first film of any of the 3 trilogies. Each film then has multiple linear levels set on the various planets that they feature, but those levels are also joined up by open areas that are filled with people to talk to, minigames, environmental puzzles, and also objectives that continue the overarching story. The area around Skywalker Ranch is busy enough as it is, with sand people, just a few moments walk away, and plenty of secrets to find, in addition to little missions to find and meet up with Old Ben. But that is nothing compared to the sprawl of Mos Eisley. There's just a ton to explore, find and challenge yourself to beat or puzzle through, and there's usually a Kyber brick at the end of it. These are the main collectibles that you need to concern yourself throughout the game, because they go towards new character upgrades. Upgrades are available both generally to apply to all of the 300 unlockable characters. Okay, so there's a bunch of them that are just different ages of Obi-Wan, and there's also then specific character classes and types that can also be upgraded. If you get a Jedi upgrade to soup up their mind control abilities, then that applies to all of the Jedi throughout the game. And it's the same for the rebels with their disguises, for droids, for the Sith, and on and on. The game's freeform structure makes things really interesting in terms of progression. Each of the trilogy opening episodes will have to act as an introduction and a tutorial, while the third film of each can then lean on the presumed knowledge of how to do things like lift items with the Force or unhooking power bricks. Of course, there will be plenty of replay value and need to go back with different character types so that you can find all of the different unlockables and areas within the levels. Oh, and I haven't even talked about how you're able to blast off into outer space. This is a whole other kind of open world space to venture into, again with its own types of missions to find and take on, like hopping into a smuggling run mission to take a task off a scaredy cat trader, or simply blasting kyber comets to net yourself 5 bricks all at once. You can unlock and swap ships just as easily as you can characters, hopping from Poe Dameron's X-Wing to the ship formerly known as Slave 1. This even supports co-op, which is, as always, available throughout the entire game. LEGO Star Wars The Skywalker Saga is shaping up to be a transformative reimagining of what a traveller's tale of the LEGO game can be. The series' humour remains, but from the closer camera and revamped gameplay to the way that it weaves through both linear and open areas, incorporating so many new and more modern gaming ideas, is looking to be a brand new high point for this series. Here's hoping that whatever it leads to for TT doesn't have the same crunch-filled growing pains that this game has reportedly had. Thankfully, we won't have to wait too long to get our hands on the rest of this game. LEGO Star Wars The Skywalker Saga is out on the 5th of April across PlayStation 5, PlayStation 4, Xbox Series X, Xbox One, Nintendo Switch and PC. That's all that we've got for this video, but make sure to like, subscribe, do all of the usual YouTube things before you go, and hopefully we will see you again soon. Goodbye!